Dear participants, today is the fourth day of this international workshop on digital image processing. And today we are very lucky that today we have very eminent personality, that is Dr. K. Narmada. And she is going to talk about uh, formats of digital images through her lecture related to Introduction to Digital Image. Before proceeding ahead, I would like to request Asta Kapoor to introduce today's speaker. Asta, please.
Thank you, sir. Um, a very good evening to one and all present in this gathering, replete with scholars, academicians, and researchers. I have been given this opportunity of introducing Dr. Narmada Karunanandan, who is an eminent scholar in her field. She is a postdoctoral fellow at the Center for Water Resources Management, University of Madras. She is a postgraduate of geography from the University of Madras, and she has completed it in environmental studies from Bharati Desan University's Tiruchirappalli. She completed her PhD in geography and environmental studies in an interdisciplinary manner, and she specializes in urban geography. She did her PhD from University of Madras and completed it in the year 2017. She has completed her postdoctorate in the Center for Water Resources Management, University of Madras, and she was funded by Indian Council for Social Sciences Research, New Delhi. Her PhD thesis was on carbon storage and sequestration potential of urban green spaces for prospective urban planning, a case study of Chennai metropolitan area. This study was conducted to address the issues like understanding the extent, spatial pattern, temporal changes in the urban land cover in general, and the urban green spaces in particular in the last 3 decades in Chennai using the geoinformatics tool. The postdoctoral research was on spatial distribution and accessibility to healthcare facilities among the tribals of Chitteri Hills in Eastern Ghats. Various geoinformatics tools were used to understand the fragmentation metrics, proximity and accessibility index, and to identify the hotspots which needed additional attention in providing healthcare. She has done short courses in remote sensing and GIS applications in carbon forestry, national resource management systems, and remote sensing and GIS from the Indian Institute of Remote Sensing IIRS Dehradun. She has also completed a 4-credit course, biology, uh, 427 ecology of Indian tropics conducted by AU Sable Institute of Environmental Studies, Mansalona, Michigan. She has handled classes in remote sensing and GIS for postgraduate students at the University of Madras, and ma'am has conducted the 7 days online ArcGIS training program on which was conducted on 17th May to 23rd May in 2021, in which 2,853 participants were attending, and they were attending from over 39 countries. She has also been a consultant for MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, and she has published around 18 research papers and presented more than 30 research papers at various national and international conferences. She is an enterprising leader with strong analytical problem solving and interpersonal skills. Having worked in various domains, she brings along with her a rich expertise in different fields of geoinformatics, urban geography, and environmental sciences. Ma'am, I welcome you on the behalf of the entire college, the staff and students. And we would be really, we are all ears for your presentation, for your inputs that I can genuinely anticipate that we are in a position to be greatly benefited by your inputs. Thank you.
Thank you, Asta. That was an overwhelming thing which you told me, and
You're
whether,
welcome, ma'am.
thank you. Uh, can I begin, sir?
Yes, ma'am. We are really delighted and very happy, and once again welcome you on behalf of Devruk Shikshan Prasarak Mandal's ASP College Devruk. Ours is the only autonomous college in the Konkan region of Maharashtra, and our college may be the only autonomous college in India from rural background, which is located in very remote and hilly area. And this workshop is conducted in collaboration with all these institutes. And I welcome you on behalf of Devruk Shikshan Prasarak Mandal, our college, and all the collaborating institutions. I request you, please continue, ma'am, please.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction. And I'm really happy and overwhelmed by being part of this wonderful international workshop. And actually, it's an honor to be part of this whole team. Like, will be able to contribute whatever possible from my end. So I hope this session will be interesting for you. So I'll do my best to make it more understandable and simple for all the participants. So all these, I think, for the last 3 days, you have had a brief introduction on the digital image processing, and the most of the resource people would have spoken to you about different concepts in digital image processing, like spectral reflectance, gradients, brightness values, digital numbers, vector data, raster data, so on and so forth. So the topic given to me here is digital data products, digital data formats actually. So I've added a bit of digital data products also to my session. So a brief overview about the lecture which I'm going to give you today. And my lecture will be covering a brief introduction about the digital data products and formats. And next I'll be explaining what is the data products and what is the objective of the session and what you mean by the index numbers for the digital products, different types of data products, products based on level of processing, output media or scale, products based on area of coverage, and what is a data format with a brief summary and a few questions so that you can just do a recap whether you have understood the whole session or not. So to begin with, when we talk about remote sensing and image interpretation in digital image processing, we'll be including certain terms like electromagnetic radiation, like coming from the sun and its interaction with various objects and matter, and various remote sensing regions, the bands, the wavelengths, spectral signatures, which is nothing but the response pattern of some of the objects, sensors, platforms, and image resolutions. These are the basic terms which we'll be talking about in this, the whole remote sensing and image processing. So the any raw remote sensing data, as soon as we get it, okay, which is recorded by the sensor, it will be passing through a medium. That is, there will be some medium between the sun and the receiver. So of this electromagnetic radiation, when it passes through this medium, it will experience some kind of disturbances or distortions, okay, which will lead to minor errors. And this data needs to be processed in order to remove these distortions and errors. So finally, the data, they are converted into various products to be supplied for various users based on their applications. Whatever the requirement is, user's requirement is, it will be processed accordingly and it will be supplied to the user. So there is a remarkable difference between the raw data and the processed data. So it is like using any kind of what to say. If you're buying a vessel from the market, a utensil or a vessel from the market, those are the processed ones. For example, aluminium vessel, if you're buying from the market, it is got from the aluminium ore, which has lot of impurities in it. So we call it as an ore. For example, a bauxite. So it has lot of impurities in it that will be removed and processed, and the final, no, the processed product will be supplied to the end user. So it is like that. So the whole process, okay, with the raw satellite images is like collecting the raw material and processing the same into a finished one, just as aluminum ore is processed into aluminum metal. Okay, so the whole objective of this session will be to define what is the data product, what are the different types of the data products, and discuss briefly the different types of data formats. So when we talk about data product, the last sessions you would have heard about the terms raster and vector data. Okay, there are two types of data generally used in geoinformatics, which is raster and vector. But as such, as a layman, when we talk about the remote sensing data, we always mean the raster data. When we see the picture or an image, it is about the raster data. So in its simplest form, this raster data, what to say, means the data consisting of matrix of cells, the cells or pixels which will be arranged in rows and columns. So rows and columns, and where each cell will contain a value which will be representing some kind of information. It can be the extent, the intensity of the reflected electromagnetic radiation, or it could represent the temperature of that region, or it could represent the height, that is elevation of a region. Okay, so these raster data products include the digital aerial image photographs. It can be imagery from satellites. It could be some kind of a digital pictures, or even the scan map. So these data which is procured from various sensors, they will be given in a different form or format with a certain radiometric and geometric learning in the consecutive next few lectures. There will be certain accuracies which is required. The geometric accuracy which with reference to the positioning, and radiometric as accuracy which with reference to the intensity of the radiations and all that. So which could be readily used by the application scientist. And the remote sensing data can be procured by a number of users for various applications and information extraction in the form of this kind of a product. So this may be photographic output or for visual processing, or it could be a digital format. It could be a small photo-like structure, or it could be a digital format which could be used further for processing. So there are varieties of remote sensing data which are acquired by different sensors and satellites. So before reaching to the users, the data undergoes a lot of processing steps. So requirements of users, it may vary from depending upon their interest, because certain soil scientists will require a certain kind of data, and certain meteorological scientists would require a different kind of data. So hence there are various remote sensing data providers and suppliers, and which they prepare a variety of data in different formats. And similarly, like if we look into it, the pre-processing image are generated in a number of products, like hard copy prints on papers, or digital data like your tapes and CDs and DVDs and other computer compatible storage devices. So if this data product is in a hard copy print, then it is impossible to carry out any kind of processing or conversion, right? It is a raw image which is in a hard copy. What we can't do any kind of processing with it. So, but if the product is in digital form, it may be possible to convert the data into a processed digital image. So it may be further required to carry out certain processing before any image analysis operation is performed. So the types of the data products which is given by the data providers, it differs from country to country, or from one data provider to to another. So here actually we mostly deal with the data provided by the national data center, NDC of our National Remote Sensing Center of ISRO, it is Indian Space Research Organization, which is situated in Hyderabad. So these data products are nothing but the data from various sensors in a suitable or a standard form, which will be in a usable form of the end users, and a format which can be readily used by the stakeholders. So when we talk about the data products, there is a term called as index numbers, and every data product will have an index number. So any kind of a remote sensing data, they carry a specific index number. So this index number is generated using the satellite path. Usually when the satellite runs, moves over the Earth surface, it will follow a path. So it will run from North Pole to South Pole of the Earth. So during this pole to pole coverage of the Earth, for each pass, that is for each movement over the Earth of the satellite, that particular path is given a specific number. So for your easy understanding, we can say the column from north to south that we give is given a specific number. And similarly, in case which is called as a path number or the track number, we call it as path number or the track number. Whereas in India, these path number will range from 88 to 116 from west to east. So you can imagine from the satellite moving from west to east, okay, covering from north to south pole. So from west to east, the path numbers for India for IRS satellites, it is 88 to 116. So these paths are nothing but the orbital tracks, okay, of a satellite, which at a small angle. It is not like running straight directly in a perpendicular position. There is an angle in which it is rotating from the geographical north to south and somewhat parallel to each other. So this similarly, when we draw an east and western lines across these lines, it will give a grid, a square grid-like structure. Okay, so this is how a series of columns and rows are created. So just like that, this path is called as a path number, the rows are called as a row number. So there are different types of data products, and we can classify this depending upon what is the level of processing this data product is being done, and what is the output media or the scale, and what is the area coverage. So these are the three different classification of the data products. So when we look at the data product based on the level of processing, the data products are further classified into three types. One is a standard product, next is a value added product, and finally it is the derived product. So earlier we saw three different types of data products. One is based on level of processing, one is based on output media or the scale, third one was area of coverage. So this level of processing we further classify into three types: standard products, value added products, and derived products. When we look into the standard products, so these are generated from information received directly from the satellites. Okay, the image which we get from the sensors, the satellites, and by applying whatever the radiometric and geometric corrections are needed. So this term radiometric and geometric corrections will be taught to you in the next few classes. So these are certain corrections to correct the certain errors and distortions which will be there when we receive the satellite image. So these products can be of various types. These standard products can be path row based standard products, shift along track products, quadrant products, georeferenced products, basic stereo products, and area of interest based products. So these are these specifically like based on what you actually require. Okay. So when we talk about the path row based standard products, so if you see this tile, okay, there are two tiles which is seen here. That is P40 R30 is path 40. Okay, the orbital track 40 and the row is 30, and similarly the next tile is P39 and row 30. Okay, so these are the two tiles. Okay, actually the data are recorded by the sensors along the track or the path of the satellite covering a specific width. Okay, so one track will be covering a certain width of the area. So using the user specifies the path and row of the scene. The sensor, if there is any sub-scene, okay, if there is any sub-scene, if you want a specific portion of the scene, you need to specify that, and what will be the any number of scenes which are required, what is the date of the pass of the satellite, the date on which the satellite has passed over the area, the band numbers, okay, the band numbers or the wavelength region which is required, or any band combination. If you want blue and the red band, or blue or the green band, so the band combinations which is required, you need to specify, and the product code which will be given by the data provider. So these are the certain necessary informations which we need to provide to the National Data Center of NRSC. So next, when we look into the shift along track products, that is, in the case of a user's area of interest, if for example, if you have selected at two tiles, but your area of interest or your study area will fall between two successive scenes of the same path. Okay, there will be in between the two scenes of the same path. This data can be supplied by sliding the scene in along the track direction. So instead of selecting the two different scenes, they can simply slide the scene along the track direction and provide that particular scene to you. So this can be given only by the data suppliers, because that too depends upon the area. If they are able to provide, only they will give, because these shift along it, like how much shift do you need? It can be 10%, 20% of the first scene, 30% of the first scene, you may have to specify. So in addition to that, other necessary information you will have to give. What are the number, the path number, the row number, and if there is a date of the pass and all, you will have to specify along with it in order to get this kind of a product. Next is the quadrant product. For example, in this IRS series of satellites, that is Indian remote sensing satellites, we have this LIS 3. LIS is nothing but linear imaging and cell scanning sensor. Okay, so LIS 3 data, the full scene, you take this, in this you can see the row 60 and path 95 and path 96, row 60, row 61. Okay. So in this, if you take this path 95 row 60 alone, that is one quadrant, that is one full scene of a pan data. Pan data is a pan-chromatic data, which is a black and white data, and it is a high resolution data. And this pan data, which will be further divided into 9 quadrants. If you can see, this on the right hand side, that is path 95 row 60. It is further divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, 9 quadrants. So this this full scene is divided into 4 quadrants, that is A, B, C, and D. And this A again is divided into 9 quadrants. So these you will have to specify. These are given numbers from 1 to 9. While placing a request, you will have to request for the products. You need to specify the quadrant number in addition to the details specified. Path 95 row 60 subscene A1, that is the first tile of the quadrant A. If you want the second tile of quadrant B, you need to say path 95 row 60 B2. Similarly, you will have to specify what is your requirement. Next is the georeferenced products. So georeferencing is nothing but the transforming of the whatever the satellite data, the remote sensing data, or any map into a coordinate of the projection system. Okay, this means all the projects and the elements, they will have the latitude and longitudinal values. So this kind of products, already georeference data is also available with the National Data Center, which you can procure from them. Next is the basic stereo products. These stereotypic images mostly we talk about in photogrammetry. This stereo pair, when we talk about stereo pair, it comprises of 2 images of the same area. Okay, so with this, the 2 images, it could be acquired on a different date, or it can be on the same date but at a different angles. So these products, they are generally used for the elevation, digital elevation maps, or any kind of 3D visualization of the area. Usually this Cartosat 1 mission, they provide this kind of stereotype images. Next is the area of interest based products. So when we do any project or any kind of scientific analysis or anything, your study area, for example, if you are doing your study area Delhi, you can specify that your area of interest and then give it to the data suppliers, they will provide that particular area of interest alone. So they'll provide the scenes which will cover the area, your area of interest. For example, if Delhi is going to get covered in two different scenes, they give those two tiles to you, but they will not be mosaic, and they'll be giving the two tiles which you will have to process it further. So there is a minimum order quantity which is there for IRS P5 products, which is 25 by 25, and for IRS P6 it will be 23 by 23, below which you cannot ask for, and the maximum limit will be 10,000 square kilometers. So similarly, it differs from different sensor to sensor. So AOI based products are provided as digital products, and these Cartosat 1 products are supplied with different processing levels. There will be radiometry corrected products, and also it will be an ortho kit. That is, apart from radiometry correction, they will also be provided with the user defined projections. Whatever the type of projection which you specify, they will apply the projection. The projected image only will be supplied to you. So these are called as AOI based products. Next, the first we were talking about based on the standard products, products based on level of processing. The first one we were talking about standard products. Till now we were talking about the standard products. Now we are going to the value added products. When we talk about the value added products, the standard products are processed according to the specifications and requirements of the users, and these products get converted into value added products. So whatever the requirement is, your requirement is, it will be basically performed, and it will be given to you. It can be a geocoded product, it can be a burst product, or it can be an ortho product. So when we talk about the geocoded product, what is a geocoded product? These are also called as geo-referenced products. There are certain locations, if you need to be marked in your images, it will be marked and given to you. So this geocoding, we call it as geocoding, which will give you the points, the location points, and of your area of interest, and it can be with reference to both topographical maps and floating points. So thus the geocoded products, it will be generally of two different types. One is the topographical map based products, and next it can be a floating point. It can be a random point. Okay, random point based products. That is, you give the certain locations, it will be marked randomly, and it will be given to you. Next is the merged products. When you talk about the merged products, when you get any kind of any images downloaded from USGS Earth Explorer, there will be a multispectral data and a single band data, that is a panchromatic data. So when you look at the resolution of the multispectral data, it will be lesser than that of a panchromatic data. Okay, so this panchromatic data will be of higher resolution, higher spatial resolution, and the multi-band data will have comparatively lesser spatial resolution. So when this multispectral data area is merged with the panchromatic data, we get this multispectral data with the spatial resolution of panchromatic data. So we have the MSS data with a better resolution. So if you have for example, the PAN data is 50 meter resolution and your MSS data is 30 meter resolution. When you merge it, you will get the multispectral data with 50 meter resolution. So it can be used for various purposes. For example, if you want to classify the images, if you want to do a level 2, a level 3 classification, these kind of merging will help. Okay, so you will have a better spatial and spectral resolution. So the data can be merged only when both MSS and PAN have been registered with the same georeferencing system. So there is a tool inside your ERDAS Imagine where you can do this for this particular merging. Okay, that is multispectral. So these kind of merged products, it will be used for various high resolution analytical purposes. Like the data can be merged only when both have the similar georeferencing system. Next is the ortho products. When we talk about the ortho products, the geometrically corrected products with the corrections for displacement. Okay, so caused by certain tilt and relief are called ortho products. So when you acquire any kind of image with a sensor, due to the movement of the satellites or due to certain distortions which is there in the atmosphere, certain disturbances, there will be certain errors which will be there in the satellite image. There it may cause a small tilt, or it can be what to say. There are various geometric errors which are there, which we will be discussing in the next few classes. So these these will be corrected. So therefore, these ortho images show ground objects in their true planimetric positions, their original positions, like the positions which you see in a map, the objects in a map. Okay, so in order to get these kind of ortho products, you will have to provide certain basic inputs like your digital elevation model, which will have the elevation data of the particular area and certain ground control points, and the spatial, the satellite information, that is the orbit, the altitude information and all those things, and certain radiometrically corrected satellite data. If you can provide these basic inputs, you will be provided with this kind of ortho products. So we discussed the value added products now. Initially we discussed the standard data products. All these three will come under the products based on level of processing. Okay, so this we are talking about the products based on the level of processing. This is the third category, which is the derived products. So the information when we extract from the remote sensing data is also provided as useful products by the data providers. For example, if you have need if you're an agriculturalist, if you're working as in some for some agricultural research, you may need a vegetation index map. There are two ways you can do. Either you can get the raw data, process the data, and then do your own analysis to get it, the vegetation index map, or you can get the vegetation index map directly from the data providers. And vegetation index map, similarly the sea surface temperature profiles, it can be extracted from various remote sensing data products. So these there are a lot of useful analysis which has been done by using these sea surface temperature maps. Like there was a researcher there was a student who was working on the pattern of the phytoplanktons. Okay, phytoplanktons, the growth of these phytoplanktons, how the cyclonic effect affect the growth of these phytoplanktons, for which the sea surface temperature profiles was needed, okay, for her to understand. So there was a time when this whole phytoplanktons population got reduced and got vanished, and after a certain period of time they came up again. So what is the science behind it? In order to study those analytical stuff, they use these kind of sea surface temperature profiles for a definite period of, for a temporal data for different time periods. So these derived products are generated by further processing and analyzing the data, and they are readily usable by the user. So based on the output media, the data products are available in both. They'll provide you in both the hard copy as well as a digital media. It can be a photograph or it can be a digital format. And the photographic products, whatever, in case if it is going to be a paper print, okay, it can be, they'll provide as either as a film or a print. The output products, it will vary from 1:1 million resolution, 1 million scale, or 1:50,000, or even 1:25,000 scale. So there are variants available which you can choose according to your own requirements. So we were talking about the products based on the remote sensing data products depending on the level of processing. And the level of processing, we spoke about standard data products, we spoke about value added products and the derived products, and we further classified these standard products and the value added products. And now we are talking about the products based on output media and the scale. So the NRSC, National Remote Sensing Center, they provide the remote sensing products in two different types of media. It can be a photographic media, that is, it can be a hard copy, print, a film, or a photo, or it can be a digital media. Photographic products are, yeah, it will be supplied in the form of film or paper print, and the scale of this photographic product can range from 1:1 million to 1:50,000. Okay, the digital media which is provided, it's also provided, but the only problem is the photo print. You cannot do any kind of processing or analytical activity further, whereas no, digital media, you can do your own analysis and you can play with it. So these are the products based on the area coverage. If you need full scenes, all bands, then you can choose this list 3, list 4, AY-FIS, TM. There are multiple sensors available. Okay, the satellite data available. So if full scenes, if you want to specify bands, again you have this list 3, list 2, list 1, TM, Landsat data and all are available. And full scenes with shift along track means you have PAN and Wi-Fi from list 3 and AY-FIS from list 4 and other OCM, and there are many other sensors available. It's just to give an overview of the main type of the remote sensing data products which are available based on the area of coverage. So you can also specify geocoded map sheet based, that is 15 by 15, and floating, that is with the floating points you can ask for in list 3. Whereas geocoding 7.5 by 7.5 map sheet with floating points, you can go in list 3 and list 4. So these are the variables which are available with the National Data Center, which they will provide. So what is a data format? So we were talking about the different data products which are available. So in what kind of format they will be given? So we will be this any kind of this remote sensing data or image data is nothing but a digital picture or the representation of various objects on the Earth's surface. The picture is a systematic arrangement of these raster cells. As I already told you, when we talk about remote sensing data, we generally think about the raster based data only. Okay, so each of these raster cells depends on the intensity of the radiation received and contains digital numbers. So each of these raster data, that is will be divided into small picture elements. We call it as pixels, which will have some digital number. For example, if it is between 0 to 127, we call it as a 7-bit image. If it is 0 to 255, we call it as 8-bit image, and so on. So depending upon the radiometric processing capacity. So we have 8-bit image, we have 16-bit image, 32-bit image, 64-bit image, and many. So it depends upon the radiometric processing capacity of the detector system of the sensor. So each number in an image file is a data file value. Sometimes we call it as a pixel, which is picture element. Okay, the abbreviation of pixel is picture element, and the data file value is measured the brightness value of the pixel at a specific wavelength. So this image data format can be is nothing but the sequential arrangement of pixels, and these pixels will represent a digital number, and the digital image in a computer compatible any storage media. It can be in the form of a CD or a DVD or whatever. So the superposition of any, there are 3 band data. For example, there is a red band, there is a green band, there is a blue band. If you need these 3 bands, superposition of these bands, each of which is developed in blue, green, red shades, will give a color composite of the image area. So when you do a practicals, you will know. In if you open a band 1, it will show a different color. Band 2, it will show a different color. Band 3 separately, it will show a different color. And if you're going to superimpose, if you're going to overlay one band over the other, it will have a different band combination. Okay, so sometimes we call it as false composite also. Generally, in any kind of image, when we use it for remote sensing analysis, we use certain band combinations. We call it as false composite, where we usually represent vegetation in red color. Okay, so we overlay the bands in such a way so that the vegetation will be highlighted as red color, and the water body will have a dark blue or a black color. On the buildings will be represented as a silverish blue, something like that. So any barren land will be a white or a light beige color. It will be like that. So we call it as a false color composite. So, so in the concept of the image data format comes in with a question like how we are going to arrange the pixels. Okay. So when we are talking about a format, we have to see how these pixels are arranged. So based on the arrangement of these pixels, we will have different types of the format. So these are the different types of formats. We call it as band interleaved by pixel, band interleaved by line, and band sequential. There are other formats also. These are the basic types of formats we generally talk about. So when we talk about band interleaved by pixel, so in this white portion, you can see the first row. We have a data file where we have a series of values arranged on top. Okay. So the data storage sequence in BIP format, we can see in the figure. It is for an image of size 3 by 3. That is, if you are going to arrange 3 rows by 3 columns, having 3 bands. Okay. The band, row, and column are generally represented here. You can see B as band, R as row, and P as path. Okay, path or the column. So in band interleaved by pixel, what they do is, if you can see the first row, 21 is taken in the first row, first column. Okay, 34 will go to band 2, first row, first column. 98 will go to band 3, first row, first column. Next 76 will again come to band 1, first row, second column. And 43 will go to band 2, first row, second column. Similarly, the pixel by pixel will be arranged. Okay. So this is called as band interleaved by pixel. Hope you people are understanding what is it. We have a series of numbers, the digital numbers, which is arranged. So the first value will be arranged in the band 1, row 1, column 1. Second value will be arranged in band 1, row 1, column 2. Third will be arranged in band 1, row 1, column 3. And the fourth will go to band 2. I think I confused. Okay. So first it will be arranged from one pixel to another. And similarly, this is called as the band interleaved by pixel. Next is band interleaved by line. Similarly, we have a data file, the series of values arranged on top. In band interleaved by line, what they do is they first finish one row, then of one band. Next, they move on to the second band, first row, third band, first row. Then we come to row 2 of first band, row 2 of band 2, row 2 of band 3. Okay, so if you can see here, the pixels of row 1 and band 1 are stored in sequence first, and then all the pixels of row 1 and band 2, and then pixels of row 1 of band 3, and they are followed by pixels of row 2 of band 1, then the pixel of row 1 of band 2, and then the pixels of row 1 and band 3. So similarly, it will go from line to line. So this is called as band interleaved by line format. Next is band sequential format. In this, first they finish arranging all the values in one band. Then they will move to the values in the band 2. That is, first they fill the row 1 of band 1, row 2 of band 2, band 1, row 3 of band 1. Then they'll go to the band 2, row 1, row 2, row 3. Then they go to band 3, row 1, row 2, row 3. So each and every band will be saved as a separate file. Whereas if you remember, when you go to, if you've already worked with some practicals in remote sensing, people who have already worked with the practicals in remote sensing, you can see each and every band will be stored as a separate file. So this is the BSQ format. Okay, so for color output images, the BSQ format is generally considered as convenient because these three bands are assigned to red, green, and blue. However, this band interleaved pixel format is considered better for classification because the multi-band data are required pixel by pixel for processing. Okay, so when you do any kind of a classification, for supervised classification, we choose certain pixel by pixel to identify an object or a landscape. Okay, So this band interleaved by line is generally considered as a compromise between the BSQ and the BIP format. So keeping basically these three data formats, number of other formats like TIFF, GeoTIFF and PNG, JPEG are also developed by different organizations. And most of the image processing software for remote sensing data support these kind of file formats. So there are certain standards of the data formats. Okay, so there are certain standards when data are supplied as a soft copy in digital form. Okay, the digital products are commonly supplied in the following format. They're called as Landsat Ground Station Operator Working Group or Superstructure format, FAST format, GeoTIFF format, HDF data format. This is the superstructure format. So this format has been developed by the Landsat Ground Station Operators Working Group and is generally considered as an suitable for the level 0, that is raw data with no corrections. It's a simply raw data. And next is, and also the level 2 with both radiometric and geometric corrections applied. So this is called a superstructure format or the world standard format, and it is a consistent collection of one or more files recorded consecutively. And this, when the digital data are provided in this format in a CD form, this actually contains 5 different files. This superstructure format, it has 5 different files. One is a volume directory file, leader file, image file, trailer file, and a null volume directory file. When you say volume directory file, each and every file will have its own content or some kind of an information in it. So this, it is a first file of the media. It contains containing the data product. So it contains the file format, record length, number of records in it, and it gives information about all the other files present in the medium, number of bands in it, arrangement of the bands, what are the total number of files available, information about processing station, and what is the software version used, and all these data will be available in this volume directory file. Next is the leader file. In this, it's a descriptor record and 3 types of data record types. It has these types. One is a header, ancillary, and annotation. Header will contain information about the mission, on which mission the sensor was, like the satellite was launched, and sensor processing parameters. Next, the ancillary information contains information about the satellite details, altitude, calibration, the histogram, map projection, ground control points for image geometry correction and all that. Next is the image file. This is the actual image file which consists of the file descriptor records giving information regarding the band number, byte per pixel, etc. So these and other image related data records. So it contains the video data in a band in band interleaved by line format and band sequential format. So it have either one format it will be available. Mostly we use the band sequential format only. Next is a trailer file. It provides information about the mode of reading the file and contains information about cloud coverage. And this will be followed by the image data file. So usually, as I already told you, there are a lot of disturbances when you procure the data. So when it is going to be, for example, if it is a monsoon period or any kind of winter season, there will be some amount of cloud coverage. Even during summer, sometimes we get clouds in a particular image. So regarding the percentage of cloud coverage, it will be detailed in that. Next is a null volume directory file. It marks the end of the logical volume and referred to as null because it defines non-existent. It is empty logical volume and it contains a volume descriptor record only. It doesn't have a major role in that. Next is a fast format. It is these formats, and we don't use it generally, not for the basic study purposes. So just to give a basic idea of it, I've just put it in this PPT. You just need to go through it. That's it. Because usually for student purposes, these BIL, BSP, and BIP 3 formats are only required for us for our knowledge. These are certain extended reads. This is only for extended reading. Okay. The FAST format is a comprehensive digital data format that is suitable for level 2. The level 2 means radiometrically and geometrically corrected data product. Okay. So in this format, instead of many numbers of files like the earlier superstructured format, only two files will be provided in the CD. One is the header file and the image file. These are the two basic files which will be provided in the FAST format, and there won't be any other null directory file or any other files in this. In the header file, it contains the header data. It is in the ASCII format. The first record is in the administrative record, which contains information that identifies the product details and all that. And the second record, the radiometric record, which contains coefficients needed to convert the scene digital values. So these will be required when you start working about certain, for example, land surface temperature analysis and all. These things will be required. These values in this record will be required. The third record is a geometric record which contains the scene geographical location, that is the latitude, longitude, and other the geographic related informations. Image file, they are written in band sequential format and in the CD or disk. So each file will contain one band of image file. Next is the GeoTIFF format. This, I think, mostly you will have, most of you would have known the GeoTIFF format. There are various data formats like GIF, BMP, and TIFF, etc., used for storage of various raster data, but they have limitations in cartographic applications. So this GeoTIFF is based on the original TIFF format with additional geographic information. So this format does not require the user to convert the content of the CD into an image data again. So this remote sensing data, it is provided in the form of an image itself, which can be directly used by the end user. With the file will have an extension of .tiff. Okay, so next is the HDF format. So the HDF, that is hierarchical data format, is a data file which is designed by the National Center for Supercomputing Application of US, and it has the standard HDF objects like images, tables, text, and data arrays and all that, and they have additional data types like grid points and swap details and all that. So it is a self-describing format. It is several type of raster images and their associated color palettes are also provided. So it is mostly for higher end scientific purposes than for us. So with this, I think we come to the end of this session. I have put up a few questions, just 5 questions to have a recap for yourself, to have, so that you can just refresh your knowledge, like whatever you have learned right now. What is it? If you can answer these 5 questions, I think you are done for this session.
Thank you, madam, for your delightful session, and I am sure your resourceful lecture might have enriched the participants in the area. The topic assigned to you is very much technical and it requires attention at the end of participants. So once again, I will share the recorded session of the same lecture with the participants, and this lecture will be one of the best lectures concerning the topic. Now I request all the participants kindly feel free to interact with Dr. Narmada Karunanandan madam, and it is a very wonderful opportunity for us. Please.
I understand that it's a very bit technical.
Yeah.
If needed, I can share the PPT also later on, so that once you would have a reading, you will have a better idea. Because once you listen to the lecture, you are most probably you tend to forget certain terms. So when you read it once, maybe it will be more effective for you.
I think there are not much more questions at the end of participants.
So I'll take that that everyone have understood the concept.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll take it in that sense. It can be two extremes.
Yeah,
Either they
yeah.
have not have understood anything,
But,
or they would have understood well.
But really, your lecture was very much resourceful,
Thank you.
and it provided and you shared about all the aspects of the topic provided to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam, for your time and delighting and enriching the participants in the area. Once again, I extend our sincere thanks to you on behalf of our organizing college and all the collaborating institutions and on behalf of all the participants. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank you.
for
Thank
patiently listening to me.
you. Dear participants, now I'm going to end the meeting. Tomorrow's lecture will be conducted by Dr. Amrita Agrawal.